Saturday. It's cold here in the USA. A lot of snow, a lot of cold. We'll wait for people to start coming in. I got 2 people coming in. I didn't use the timer because the timer doesn't work anymore, so I'm not even going to use it. Every time I put a 5-minute timer on, it's never right. Okay, guys. Got to wait till you guys come in. Hello, you guys in the Quest of Oak Island member page. Hello, our members in Quest, the YouTube channel. We can use a few more subscriptions there. We sort of died out. I hope you guys can help me out there. Hope everybody can hear me. I hope everybody can see me. Once you guys start coming in, please comment with a hello or a hi or what's up. And we have a guest on tonight, a guest appearance of Jake Roberts. He did a presentation for Oak Island. So he's going to give us his presentation and decipher of the plaque of the Shakespeare's funerary monument and discuss what's going on with that. Hello, Starlene. Hello, Patty. Here we go. Now the guys are coming in. Now you're warming up. Get your coffee and let's go. Hi, Chris. What's going on here? Oh, man. Hope everybody's having a good week. I know the Northeast, we got snow. The rest of you guys, I have no idea. Patty, glad to hear you're on tonight. Yup. Hi, Joe. How are you? Here we go. There we go. Hello, Graham. Takes a while, I guess. It just takes a while to kick in. All righty, let me reboot that, and I'm all set here. All righty, Graham. All right, got about 35 people in here right now. Jenny from YouTube, Connor, unbelievable. Hello, everyone. Hi, Matt. Hi, Leslie from Texas. Hello, Tim. What's up? I have Judy on the phone right now from Canada. And she's going to give us the synopsis of what happened this past Tuesday night. And after she says it and after she does it, later on tonight, I will post it of her outline and synopsis of the show on Tuesday night. And hello, Judy. How are you?
I'm great tonight and glad to be here. And hi, everybody. Hope you can hear me.
Yep. Let's see if everybody can hear Judy. Joe Mesa, he got 18 inches of snow in the Poconos. Cindy, hello, Cindy. Hello, Rose. Hello, Stu. Can everybody hear Judy? Before she starts, we want to get an okay on that. We got to wait, Judy. Yup, Graham says, yup, they can hear you. One guy can hear you. Hello, Merry Christmas. Faye, how you been, Faye? Long time no here. Merry Christmas to all you guys. Yes, Matt. So, Judy, they can hear you. So, I got your picture up. Anytime you want to start, it's all yours, Judy. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, it was a great show Tuesday night, fellow members. Again, a lot of info to take in, but all of it very interesting. I have watched the show twice so I could ingest it all. It's a new day on Oak Island, and Rick, Terry, and Charles are drilling at the money pit. They are looking for the vault and must get down 175 feet to find the void, then down to 220 feet where they think the vault has settled. It's time to find it. Now to the war room, where Marty and Rick are listening to Erin Helton expand on her theory using the info sent to her from last week's show. She believes the anchor stones found last week are markers on a master grid that lead to the money pit. Using the 700-year-old Templar cross, along with a measuring square, Erin forms lines that line up with the anchor stones and the stone triangle in the upland area that was destroyed by Robert Redfield years ago. Erin says the cross is a protractor hiding the key to the money pit, and I'd like to know what all of you think about that. Using more of Zena's info, Erin continues to study her theory. Back to the swamp, where Ian and Rick are looking for man-made anomalies in the southeast corner. As Ian probes the water, he hits muck, then an area of flat rocks, and then a drop-off of 3 meters. Ian is sure it's man-made, and he and Rick wonder if this is a wharf, a road, or a pathway, as it runs in a perfect line. They believe it to be 20 feet wide by 70 feet long. Is it related to the paved area found last year? More searching is needed. The next morning at the research center, on the deck, Ian, Alex, Tony, and Marty make plans to go out in the water off the boulderless beach to see if they can reconstruct the island as it would have been in the 12 to 1600s. They will use sonar to do the search. Now to lot 15, where Gary, Doug, Steve, and Rick are looking for ring bolts like the ones found by Fred Nolan many years ago. Fred also found pieces of a ship at that time. As Gary is metal detecting, they find what looks like a piece of iron off of a potbelly stove, like the ones used on ships for heat in the past. Later, Carmen Legge tells Alex, Peter, and Jack that that is just what it is. Next, we find Alex, Ian, and Tony aboard Tony's boat as they navigate the shoreline off of the swamp, Smith Cove, and Isaac's Point. They are able to determine where the shoreline might have been in the 12 to 1600s. Also, the sonar detects what could be the remains of a wharf that could be connected to the man-made anomaly in the southeast corner of the swamp. They are then shocked to find what looks like a shipwreck. Hopefully, we find out just what that is when they do their dive on the site next week. The show ends with Alex and Tony filling Rick, Marty, Jack, Peter, and Doug in on their finds offshore. Doug says that in older aerial maps, what does look like a wharf does show up on those maps. Marty okays the dive. Eyes and fins on the ground, as Rick says. And I will see you next week when we all get to see Rick's new haircut.
Fantastic, Judy. Fantastic job. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I say happy Merry Christmas to everybody?
Yeah, no problem.
And yeah, for all those around the world, if you're celebrating a different holiday, may it be merry. May you have time with your family. Have a happy new year, and I hope it's good for all of us. And please, please stay safe.
I thank you so much. Thank
You're
you so
welcome.
much.
Okay, yep. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. That Judy, she's fantastic. Let me get this branding off here. Okay. How was that, guys? Very good. Very, very good. A lot to take in, but like I said, I'll post that outline tonight later on so everybody can see the outline. Now, waiting in the wings is Jake Roberts. He's a theorist. He was presented in the war room remotely on Oak Island. He's part of the team. Now he's part of our crew also. Let's welcome him aboard. Where'd he go? Let's welcome Jake Roberts to the crew.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Great job, Judy. That was awesome. So good. Great to be here, John. Thanks.
I'm glad you can make it. I'm glad you can make it. Usually how I start out with, this is like a standard question for all you guys. I mean, it's just a repeat question that I love the backstories of Oak Island, their team, and what happens. How were you, or how did you approach them, or did they approach you on your theory? You know, how was the connection made with the TV show, Jake? All yours.
Well, you know, they asked me the same question, and I give the same answer every time. I blame Chris Dona. He sucked me into this, and he just texted me this morning, and he said, yeah, my wife's name is Audrey, and he said, I really owe Audrey for this, don't I? And I said, trust me, she'll let you know. So yeah, you know, I saw him. He and I have been friends for years. We're colleagues. We work together.
Okay.
And when I saw his episode, you know, he said a phrase, the Royal Arch, and that's kind of fell into what I had always believed was really going on Oak Island. And I emailed him and I said, hey, you know, you said this, and this is what I think's going on. And he said, oh, you should write that up, and this is where you send it.
Okay.
And so, you know, that's what happened. You know, we started talking. We hang out a lot now, and I don't know. That's what kind of got me started. You know, I sent an initial theory that was really embarrassing and terrible, and then you know I refined it, and I was able to start using the right tools in order to try to put an X on the map for the guys of what I thought was going on in terms of what I interpreted as the symbolism of the island.
Yep.
And so after a while, you know, after I started working with Shakespeare's plaque, I won't be presenting any of that information tonight. I'll be talking a little bit about Bacon's ciphers and, you know, just the surface of the plaque itself.
Right.
But, you know, once I really started working with that, things fell into place, and Chris and I kept heckling them, saying, hey, listen, you really got to see this stuff. It's amazing. And so they finally said, yeah, we got to see this. It sounds interesting. And so we did a remote presentation, and they really enjoyed it. And so then a little while later, I did another one with Aaron Helton and Chris. And so at that point, I found myself kind of sucked into this little enclave, if you will, of theorists, of Chris Dona, myself, Aaron Helton, and of course Chris Morford and Corey Mall. Great people to think with. So many. What's really wonderful is you know, you have that caliber of theorist,
Yep.
and we're all kind of bouncing ideas back and forth. I haven't been as engaged recently, simply because I've been trying to finish my book on the plaque, and but we're still able to, you know, bounce ideas off from each other. We have a little space where we're sharing information now. We have an all clear to collaborate from, you know, headquarters, and
Right.
so as Erin used to had said, she had this really great phrase for it when we all first started talking. She says, you know, we're all in these kind of little silos, right?
Yep.
Where we're sequestered from one another, and you know, and we all really wanted to just share our information with each other, and the team on Oak Island wanted us to do that. So now those avenues are opening up where we have the ability to do that. So,
right. And we
like I
love
said,
we love it that you guys are putting X's all over the place. X's in the swamp, X's below the swamp, X's on the island, and
well,
Aaron's direction on boulders and lines.
oh
Oh
yeah.
my God. If Johnny wasn't confused before 7 years ago, I'm totally confused now.
Well, once we started all really kind of sharing the info, we realized that we were all kind of on the same thread of stuff. And,
Yep.
And so we're able to put plenty of X's on the map. That's for sure. And when we do, we're assured that with due time, and hopefully they'll all be checked out. So
Right.
that's exciting. It's fun.
And I'm hoping the plus out of this nasty COVID delay, this plus, I think, is for people like you and the theorists that have these ideas that are pliable, get the chance to give them an idea outside the box. I don't know if this was a regular season, gun-ho season, that you would have this opportunity. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. That's such a great observation you made. And the idea is that I tend to be kind of a lateral thinker. I tend to do I think outside of the box in that sense. Right. So my theory came out of left field in a way, and yet it still is not mutually exclusive to all of the other theories that are out there. In fact, it dovetails quite nicely into all of them. So like I said, I think that whether or not any of my presentations ever make it on the show. I mean, as a theorist, and you go and you present, you
Right.
don't know if or when it's ever going to be on TV. Which
Right.
Honestly, I don't care. I'm in it just for the truth.
I hear you. But a lot of times the theorists say it took 10 years for me to do this, and the show just took out a 2-minute piece out of context. And now they spend the next 3 years trying to explain, no, this is not what it meant. This is what the TV people do. I mean, we got to understand it's a TV show,
Yeah.
ratings and such on the one side. And you guys that are dead serious and do all this research wish they would pick out pertinent points that are direct and precise, not just a piece that just comes out of left field. You know what I mean, Jake?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. And what's funny is, we've all been kind of joking about that because, the public and the fans and what they get to see on TV is a tiny fragment of the depth and breadth of the work. I mean, what everyone saw of Chris and Corian's theory, there was so much left on the editing room floor, I think, that when all of a sudden, we're all sharing ideas on Facebook,
right,
and bantering back and forth and talking to fans, and
right,
Corian was joking is, this is what happens when your face is on a famous TV show, because all of a sudden there were people who were trying to pick apart, he and Chris's theory, and it's and we joke about it. It's funny, but and luckily, I mean, no one knows who the heck I am. So,
Jake,
which is great. So
Jake,
I can post whatever I want. No one's making fun of me yet.
Jake, now they know.
Well,
enjoy
your following.
Enjoy the PMs. I'll give you mine if you need some.
I'm sure I'm going to be fine, John. I'll be good. Thanks.
But it's a pleasure for you coming on tonight, and obviously with Corian and Christopher, once they get they can clear the air a little bit more, they'll be more on, even with you guys. Yeah. Once you got the okay or something's aired, that we can talk more about it. Like Erin, she can't come on right now. It's just too hot of a topic right now. I understand that. Yeah. She understands that. My members understand that. But the minute we get an okay, boom, then she can explain her side if she likes to be on live. I'm not sure. Right. And at least give her the opportunity. Here it is. You want to say? I'll put her on
the spot. I think she'll want to come on. I'm just saying.
Did you hear that, Aaron? But so if we want to start getting into your theory a little bit, Jake, we can if you want.
Yeah, sure. And the thing is, John, I want to be clear. What I'm presenting tonight is not my Oak Island theory, because I can't. Right. I signed an NDA, And,
Right.
so I have to be very careful about what I do share.
Right.
Tonight, what I really was hoping I would do is do what I wasn't able to do for the Oak Island team. I basically gave a 3-hour presentation in 1 hour. And then after I went, Chris Dona gave his 3-hour presentation in 1 hour.
Right.
And so, we went back to back, and our theories,
Right.
we
Now,
were working together on this.
does your
So
Bacon theory tie in with Peter Armiston at all? I mean, does that is it
Peter Evanson, yeah, in fact, there is a lot of overlap there in
okay?
terms of well, I mean, it's Shakespeare,
Right.
okay. There are elements of all of that, and along with Bacon's ciphers in particular. What I was going to show tonight was what I called, literally the surface of Shakespeare's funerary memorial plaque, excuse me.
Okay.
And so when we look at it, it's one of those things where I'm just looking at the surface. I was going to explain to people how the Bacon ciphers work, and kind of demonstrate an answer of whose name is actually encoded in the plaque. And what I did was I actually deciphered multiple ciphertexts that are embedded in the plaque. And Francis Bacon does take credit for writing all of them.
Okay.
So
You want me to
I
bring?
was just going to show you. Yeah, go ahead and bring in my presentation if you can.
Is that how you want it like that?
Yeah, that's fine. That'll work.
Okay, Jake, take over.
All right. So if those of you who are unfamiliar with the plaque, this is what it looks like. Shakespeare's funerary monument, has this bust and so on, and underneath the bust of Shakespeare is this plaque that you see here before you. And so, I took an interest in this simply because, like I said, there are a lot of other researchers who have dug into it. Primarily Peter Dawkins, who is probably the preeminent Bacon scholar and expert in this field. You just mentioned Peter Evanson, his work with the first folio and how he tracked down his mercy point on
Mhm.
Oak Island. It's all associated with that as well. And of course, Chris Morford, I'm going to be actually showing some of his work a little bit later with his permission, and Chris Dona. Something that Chris Dona did with Peter Evanson's work and Chris Morford's work, where he independently found something. I'm going to be revealing that tonight. It's really kind of cool what Chris has been able to do. I shared a lot of my information with Chris, and what he did was he used completely different techniques to not only confirm, what I've done, but also confirm a lot of the ciphertext messages.
Very good.
Kind of cool. He's such a great researcher. And so, I did find a ciphertext related to Oak Island, and I'm obviously will definitely not be revealing any of that tonight.
Right.
So I decided to give this a try,
All right.
and using a completely different approach that no one else had done. And so I had seen that this old approach that a lot of people were using had kind of given some really interesting correlations and results, but I thought they were somewhat limited. And so I felt that I understood what kind of a cipher was really going on this plaque. And it's something completely different than what most people thought. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to give everyone a quick primer on Bacon ciphers. If you already know this stuff, a lot of you fans have probably already delved into this stuff a little bit, but if you haven't, I would like to kind of spend some time talking about that. Now, one of the things that this plaque says is, "Stay, passenger, why goest thou by so fast? Read if you can, who envious at the place within this monument, Shakespeare." And so what he's really saying is, whose name decks this tomb? And I'm going to give you an answer to that tonight. So what I tried to do is give everyone an understanding of what the message of the plaque is in the first place. And it's a little convoluted. And I think that a lot of people have gotten it wrong. So like I said, it says, "Read if thou canst." In other words, read if you can.
Mhm.
And this Latin heading, we're going to talk about that too. Judicio Palium, that is a judge, who is a really wise judge. The genius of Socrates, the art of Moronum, and who was Virgil, the poet. So the poet Virgil, that makes sense, because Shakespeare was a poet. But the genius of Socrates, well, maybe, but the justice of Pylon, that doesn't really make sense. And then, of course, it goes on that the earth holds and the people mourn, and now he lives in Olympus. So a lot of this doesn't really match up with the actor known as Shakespeare. So when I saw "read if thou canst," to me, that was a call to decode. It says, read this if you can. And so, and then it says, what are we supposed to read? Whom hath place within? Whose name is in this monument Shakespeare? And so if you can see this on the, I'll enlarge this in a moment, but right after the name Shakespeare is a colon.
Hold on, Jake. Jake, you want me to bring up a bigger picture of that somehow?
I have one coming up.
Okay.
I mean, you can if you want, John, but yeah, I have one coming up. That's good. So what it means is Shakespeare is the monument. There we go. Great, John. So if you look right there after Shakespeare, see the colon is after. If Shakespeare was in the monument, it would say within this monument, colon, Shakespeare. But instead, it's calling Shakespeare a monument. So I think that's an important designation to make sure everyone understands, wraps their head around. So now, and again, it goes on to say, whose name doth deck this tomb right here. And this is a play on words, because, and this is what a lot of the ciphertexts do, is, you have a lot of wordplay going on. And really, the word tomb can be replaced with the word crypt.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of entombed, whose name is encrypted in this monument Shakespeare, if everyone follows. And so that was the tactic that I took, was this idea that this obviously was, a lot of scholars had tried to say, oh, well, originally it was supposed to be a tomb, but at the last minute they decided not to. And in reality, this is not a mistake on the plaque. One of the things with what's called steganography, it's the idea of hiding a message within a surface text that when you look at it, you can't tell that there's a cipher or a code there. That's the whole point. If you have a replacement cipher where you have numbers or symbols, you look at it, you can tell there's a cipher there, right? With steganography, it's all hidden beneath the surface. And so what that meant in my mind was that whenever with steganography, when you see a mistake is always a clue. And so this idea that this was never a tomb, it was never intended to be one. It's just a play on words, and that word had to be there, if that makes sense. So the message here, really, if we can enlarge the presentation again, John.
Which one?
Is the presentation, not the picture. There we go. Oop. Nobody wants my big head on there. No. There we go. That's fine.
Gotcha.
So when you really read that first section, what it's really saying is, read if you can, whose name is encrypted in this monument Shakespeare. And so what we're going to do is we're going to answer that question tonight. And see, there you see the enlarged version. And one of the things that when we look at this plaque, when you try to understand the language, the grammar is wrong, and it's very stilted language, and it's unclear. That's usually an indication that there is some kind of ciphertext going on, and a special kind of ciphertext that I've discovered, multiple actually. So there's some basic features of this plaque that we should kind of talk about. And first of all, like I said, the convoluted grammar is usually a big red flag. Okay, there's some kind of cipher happening here. In order for these words to be in this order and be this confusing, they have to be for some reason. And that's because there's a cipher. Also, misspellings are always a clue to some kind of steganographic message. And so, because those words have to be misspelled the way they are in order for the ciphertext to unravel the way it should. And so that's another clue. So like I said, steganography, all this means is hidden writing. And like I said, the clues are always in the mistakes. So when I saw all of these conjoined and ligatured letters, if you notice that what people call the TH, Peter Dawkins points out that this is actually a double tau. This is a T on its side joined with the other T to make it look like a TH.
Yep.
And so there are exactly 10 of these on Shakespeare's plaque. Here we have within the word monument, this image will come up a couple more times this evening, a conjoined ME, these ligatured letters here, and then the NT. There's a reason why they're connected, and I'll explain that in a minute. The other thing too, a lot of people, when they look at the plaque, they don't understand what these two symbols mean. Well, this is simply this. The Y with the S above it means the word this, and the Y with the T above it, the tau above it, means the word that. And for whatever reason, even though the words this and that appear in other places on the map, on the plaque, here in this section, they needed to have these two symbols here in place of the word. And I'll get to that in a minute. So like I said, the TH is a double tau, and it's also a triple tau because it can be read the other way, where this is a T here, if you can see it, where I'm moving my mouse there, going in that direction, like an H. An H is actually a double tau. And then, of course, you have this other crossbar here for the triple tau. So it can be read in both ways. It can be a double or a triple tau. Triple tau, the initials of triple tau are TT, which is a Bacon signature of 33. I'm going to talk about what these numbers mean here in a minute and why the number 33 represents the name Bacon. All of this was an indication to me of what kind of cipher was really going on here. And so in order for the cipher to work, these letters would have to count as one letter, one character on the plaque. And I'll talk about the count of how many characters actually are on the plaque itself. There's been a big controversy. A lot of people disagree about the count, but I think I've definitively answered that question of how many actual characters are on the plaque. So there were very explicit messages produced by the ciphertexts. And without getting into too many details, and yeah, I'm afraid there is going to be a bit of a teaser here, but first of all, Sir Francis Bacon did create the plaque. He made this thing. And he was also a member of the Fra Rosicrucian. He was a Rosicrucian. Yep. A lot of people have just tried to discount that, but this message in the plaque, he wrote it, and he claims that he is a member of the RC. Shocker, he claimed that he wrote all the works of Shakespeare. So, I mean, this is something that a lot of people have always suspected. Peter Dawkins, Peter Amundsen, myself, others, and it goes all the way back to Ignatius Donnelly and even before him. A lot of researchers and theorists have always believed that Bacon was responsible for the works of Shakespeare because it fit. He was the one that had the depth and breadth of knowledge necessary in order to create all of those plays. He understood how you were supposed to act in court and all of these different kinds of things. And the actor from Stratford-upon-Avon named William Shakespeare didn't have that knowledge, and he didn't have a library. So there you go. In addition, the ciphertexts reveal Sir Francis Bacon's true identity. Now, there are a lot of theories out there about who he really was. Who were his parents, his biological parents? There's always been this suspicion that Lady Anne and Sir Nicholas Bacon were not his parents. And when you look at pictures of Nicholas Bacon and Anthony Bacon, his brother, or Francis Bacon's brother, side by side, they look nothing alike. However, the ciphertext actually reveal his true identity, who his biological parents are. Now, a lot of the theories are out there that He was the bastard son of Elizabeth I, Queen of England, which would have made him a prince. And this is called, I believe, the Prince Tutor theory. There's the so there are a lot of theories out there, but the ciphertexts unequivocally state exactly what his identity is. And sorry, I'm not going to reveal what that is tonight.
No problem.
But that's some of my, for those of you, my friends and family who are watching, that's some of my prime material.
Welcome everybody who's joining the chat. We're here with Jake Roberts, and welcome everybody from YouTube. I haven't had a chance. Everybody's listening intently. Jake, you got everybody's ear. You're doing great. Thank you.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate it. And John, I still tell you, I love the mug on the mug. What you don't know is I texted a bunch of my friends and family, and I told them I was going to turn this into a drinking game.
Okay.
And every time I say the word prime, they have to drink. So everyone else who's watching live, you're welcome to join in. But it's not just exclusive to my friends and family. But.
Okay, so the code word, another code word for drinking tonight is going to be prime.
Prime. We're going to get primed. How's that sound, John? So tonight, what I want to explain to everyone, the focus here is that Bacon and Shakespeare are the surface discoveries on the plaque. So I'm going to show you how Bacon's name answers that question that we saw at the very beginning. Whose name is encoded or encrypted in this monument, Shakespeare. In order to do that, I get to go over, hopefully not too quickly, the cipher systems of Sir Francis Bacon. And it's really important that we wrap our heads around this idea. I'm going to try to go quickly, but I don't want to lose anyone, and hopefully I won't be too boring, which is why I turned it into a drinking game. So.
Everybody drinks on my shows for some reason. I think it's me, but that's beside the point. Go ahead.
When you gave this to me, you said I could put whatever I wanted into it. This is coffee.
Right.
It's a weak tea. It's a weak tea. Yep. It's a tea that rhymes with Amison. All right. So.
All right. Go ahead.
So Bacon had three main cipher systems. One was called a biliteral cipher. We're not going to talk about that tonight. There is a biliteral cipher on the plaque, by the way, everyone. If you want to take a hand at figuring that one out, go ahead. It's pretty cool. But simple, reverse, and K ciphers are three different forms of ciphers that Bacon used in conjunction with one another. They interact. They work together. And they serve what's called in ciphers a mathematical bijective function. That don't say that 3 times fast, especially if you're drinking tonight. But all that really means is that every character of the alphabet can be represented by a number, and that's all it means. But it's a highly, highly useful way of creating ciphers. Now, like I said, his biliteral cipher. This is really kind of interesting. This biliteral cipher was actually the forerunner of binary code used with computers, and Bacon created it. That's kind of cool. So there's also a substitution between simple and reverse ciphers. This is something that no one has ever considered before, as far as I know, in terms of how Bacon used his cipher system. I haven't read that anywhere, but I happened to just kind of stumble across this function while I was working on the ciphers of the plaque. It's based upon what's called an at-bash cipher. That used to be used with the Hebrew alphabet to create ciphers in the Bible, in the Hebrew Bible. And so that is a cipher system that is thousands of years old. So by me saying that Bacon used it, particularly when some of the messages some of the words he used in his cipher were in Hebrew, not that big of a stretch. Mm-hmm. So it really created a lot of flexibility of how he was able to encode this much information in just this number of characters. So simple and reverse ciphers. Simple is simple. It's not just a clever name. What it means is we assign the letter A 1, and you continue through the alphabet until you get to Z at 24. If you're being observant, you'll recognize that there are only 24 letters in the Elizabethan alphabet because there is no J. They used to substitute I here for J. And then there was no U. They would substitute V for U. So there are only 24 characters in the Elizabethan alphabet. Reverse Once again, not a clever name. It is what it's describing. It's the same idea in reverse, where this time A is 24, all the way down to Z being number 1. Now, this substitution cipher, the substitution system, or this at-bash cipher, the way that works, in Hebrew, all I did was I just did the same thing that they did with the Hebrew alphabet. I took the Elizabethan alphabet, A through M, and then underneath that, N through Z backwards. And so the way this works, you can substitute between the letters A and Z, because in the simple cipher, A is 1, Z is 24. In reverse cipher, A is 24, Z is 1. So both letters can represent both numbers. So therefore, you can kind of swap them back and forth when you're creating a cipher in a hidden message. And so that works all the way through each of these characters. K-cipher is the one that confuses people, but this is the one that makes Bacon's cipher system so incredibly powerful. And K-cipher starts on the letter K, counting at 10. You'll notice here where my cursor is, where my mouse is. So it starts at K, and it continues all the way to 24 at Z, just the way it normally would. But then it starts over again with A at 27, because there are two null characters here I'm going to show you in a second. And A is 27 all the way up until I is the number 35. Our null characters are 25 and 26, which is the ampersand and et. So you don't really see that a lot, but it does come into play when you're looking at, I don't know, old pamphlets printed in the 1600s, and these symbols appear on the titles. When you see these symbols, ampersand and et, chances are they needed a 25 or a 26 in whatever cipher happens to be on that cover. Along with this, because of these cipher systems, there are what are called cipher signatures. Now, one of my friends just texted me and said, "What a nerd." Yes, I resemble that remark. So when I'm looking at these cipher signatures, these basically, these are the most commonly known ones that are used in the Bacon circles. A lot of these you can find. I added a few to this, but most of these you can find on Peter Dawkins' website, the Franklin Research Trust. And so here you have Shakespeare, and there are 3 columns, 3 different numbers. The first column is simple cipher, second column is reverse, and then third column is K-cipher. And the most common ones that people know about, the name Francis is 67 in simple cipher, and Bacon is 33 in simple cipher. Together, they total 100. So Francis Bacon is a perfect 100 in simple cipher. And it's also, this 2-to-1 ratio. It's an octave effect.
Jake?
His name. Yeah.
How many other plaques has Bacon did ciphers on in different areas? I mean, this is all new to me, so that's a question just coming through my head. How many other plaques are on different monuments that he has done? If you know, go ahead. Thank you, Jake.
Yeah, it's a great question, John. I'm sure a lot of other people are wondering that too. Ignatius Donnelly claims that he had deciphered a message on Shakespeare's tombstone, which is really enigmatic and very strange looking. That basically says that Bacon took credit also for writing the works of Christopher Marlowe. So that one I know of, and I haven't looked too closely at it. I've read part of Ignatius Donnelly's book. He was pretty convoluted about the processes he used to decode that message. Whereas what I'm doing tonight, I'm just laying everything out. This is how I did it. So as far as others, I have found at least one other cipher that was on an image that I'm not going to get into tonight. But
I did it again. I did it again.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. It basically reinforces everything that I found here on the plaque. And I think that when I'm finally able to show everyone everything I found, everyone's going to like it. It's just mind blowing. It's so cool what he was able to do in just one lifetime, under multiple names. But that's a story for another day.
Okay, Jake.
So yeah,
thank you.
all of these numbers. You're welcome. And keep doing that. And if you see someone ask a question, everyone, if I'm going too fast, if you are wondering something, or if I make something very confusing, give us a shout out, and I'll try to answer your questions in real time. So just interrupt me, John.
Okay.
Because once I start going, I just go, and then just give me a shout out, and I'll stop.
Okay. Thank you, Jake.
Oh, you're welcome. So basically, if we look at significant names, here I have listed Francis Bacon, Sir Francis Bacon, his title of Viscount St. Albans, along with Baron Verulam, a title that James I bestowed upon him. Also, Fra Rosy Cross, which is the fraternity of the Rosicrucians, but that was how they would write it. And then, of course, Frater, which means brother. And I also just discovered that they frequently just make it plural, as in fraters of the Rosy Cross. So there are double signatures there. So all of these kind of start cropping up here throughout this process. And so a lot of them have to do with their brotherhood, like I said, with the name of Fra Rosy Cross. That can be Frater of the Rosy Cross, or it can be the fraternity of the Rosy Cross. And so in order to calculate these signatures, what you have to do is you have to come up with, you take each letter of those names in each of the ciphers and you add them up. And whatever their sum is, that's the cipher signature. Okay, so you do that for simple cipher for all of the names, then you do it for reverse, and then you do it for K. And that's what allows you to get these sets of numbers that are meaningful. So, like I said, use each cipher. And these numbers at the end, when all of a sudden you find them, you realize, oh, I have a cipher signature here because it represents the name Bacon, for example. However, you can't just go around looking for a 67 or a 33 or a 111. Instead, it has to be in the proper context. If you're just willy-nilly finding the numbers and saying, oh, I found something, it doesn't work that way. It has to, be obviously a Rosicrucian document, for example, or something that Bacon wrote, or something that Shakespeare wrote or created.
All right, Jake.
Yeah.
Can you just put out a little spot out that you only can reveal so much on your topic because you were presented at Oak Island, just so the new members that have come in, what your format is for tonight? Thank you.
Oh, sure, yeah. If you just pop it in, I can't really talk about any of the things I've presented to the Oak Island team. But what I can do is show information that I also discovered that's a little bit unrelated to Oak Island, but it's all about Sir Francis Bacon and Shakespeare, which is at the heart of my theory. And so that stuff I can talk about. And I saw someone said ciphers are codes, ? No. Basically, ciphers, people use the words ciphers and codes interchangeably, and which is fine, but they're technically different things. So, for our intents and purposes tonight, I'm not going to get into all of the details of that, but instead we'll just, go with it. So was that good enough, John? The idea that,
yeah, we had one more question. It says, was there a huge need for ciphers? And some just blocked me, other than to hide identity and his work?
Yeah. There was a huge need.
Okay.
In fact, he was a spy master.
Spy master. Thank you, Starlene, for that question. Very good.
Yeah. And so, in fact, the thing that actually led to the death of Mary, Queen of Scots, for example, was that she had written a cipher to, one of her loyal subjects who was going to help her try to pull down Queen Elizabeth and take the throne from her.
Oh, boy.
And so what they did was they intercepted the message and cracked the cipher. I think that was Francis Walsingham who cracked it. And so you know, they were constantly using ciphers back then. Yeah, absolutely. Such a great question. There was a huge need for it. So just to show you some of the signature features, some of the examples of that. So one of the cool things with 67, which is the simple cipher signature of Francis, is that it's comprised of the digits 6 and 7. 6 is F in simple cipher, and 7 is G. And since F can represent the idea of Francis or frater, which is Latin for brother, G is 33 in K, which if you look over on that cipher signature, if you can see it on your screen, 33 is bacon in simple. And 67 is also the 19th prime number.
Prime away. Prime the well.
So 67 being a prime number, what we have to look at is 19 is actually T in simple cipher, which is of the Rosicrucians, it's the sacred tau. And once again, if you remember earlier in the presentation, that double tau, triple tau symbol on the plaque, there are 10 of them, and they represent the number 33, which means bacon. So multiple times there were cipher messages in the ciphertext that said, I, the tau, or I, the TT. Bacon was saying, I'm the tau. In other words, 19, I'm Francis, 67.
Gotcha.
And the reason why they held the tau sacred, it represents the truth. It's the last letter in the Hebrew word tav, excuse me. The Hebrew letter tav is the last letter in the word for truth in Hebrew. And so they had this belief system where you couldn't really know the truth until you got to the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the T became the symbol of the truth instead of the first letter. So in this way, the name bacon can be represented by the letter G, T, which in the substitution system, in that batch system, T and F are the same thing. So F for Francis, but also T and F are also related in the sense of 1967 Francis. This is how all of this interrelates. And like I said, I just put in here, in the ciphertext themselves, he said I, the letter I, the T, and there was another message where it was EYE, I, the TT. In other words, I, the double tau. And so it's a pun where he's saying, I'm 33, I'm bacon, over and over again throughout the cipher system. So looking at Shakespeare, his digits are 103, 101, and 259. 103, with gematria and numerology, you can kind of drop the zeros sometimes. And 1 is A, and C, the letter C, is often used in these ciphertexts in the phonetic messages of it as the word see, being able to see. A is a symbol of light or truth because it represents the idea of light shining downward. It also represents Athena and Apollo, the spear shakers, who would shake a spear of light in people's faces to get them to see the truth. They were the spear shakers. Funny how that works. So, and like I said, 101, you have AA, Athena, Apollo. Again, the spear shakers. 259 is BEI. And so Shakespeare, BI. The number 259 represents Shakespeare. Then it breaks down into BEI, so it can spell BI. And if we look at the numbers for Sir Francis Bacon, this is kind of cool. In reverse cipher, the whole name of Sir Francis Bacon equals 231, which is actually 7 times 33. And so 7 is G in simple, and 33 is G in K cipher. So in a sense, he's multiplying G times in simple times G in K. Viscount St. Albans, this number, then 199, happens to be the 16th prime number.
Salute.
John, coffee and tea taste so much better out of your mug. I just want to tell you, it's fantastic. But being the 16th prime number, what we can do is note that in reverse, it's I, the letter I. So once again, he's saying I, 199. And so here we have, 19, also with 199, representing the T. And then we have 9, representing the letter I. So here we have the message again, I tau. So there are also some significant letters and symbols that are relevant to the plaque and Bacon. Obviously, I already talked about A as representing, and AA representing Apollo and Athena, the spear shakers. But as I said, they also represent the idea of light and shadow. Okay, so light is knowledge, shadow is the unknown. They represent the idea of Bacon's inductive reasoning that was at the basis of his scientific method. You have to take light, what you know, light shining downward in this sort of fashion. And shadows are cast in the same way, aren't they? They start narrow and then they can spread out over the ground. So you have to use light in order to understand what you don't know. And so that was his whole philosophy in terms of his scientific method. So AA also represents the apis blanco and apis noir, which is the B of light and B of shadow, B of darkness. So if you notice, the A shape kind of is shaped like a B with its wings out behind it. The B you're going to find is also a huge symbol here. I'm going to talk about it in a second. We've already talked about how the tau, the double tau, and H can actually be a double tau because of how he used it here in his double tau symbol here. And like I said, I just talked about how tav represents the idea of truth in the Hebrew tradition. And since G is 33 in K cipher, 33 is Bacon and simple, we come to associate the two together. Just to summarize, V is an inverse of A, and it also represents the name Verulam. So you have the chalice symbol, which is a feminine symbol, and then A, of course, is the masculine blade symbol. And all of you Da Vinci Code fans out there probably remember Robert Landon talking about that. The O is actually a symbol of light seen from above. It would shine down in a cone. Okay, it's the light on the horizon, what you can see. All right. If you have a light here in the center of the room, it only spreads so far, and it spreads in a circle. So he uses that. O is also, and this will come up again, O is also the substitution letter for the letter L, the initial of the word light, and lux in Latin, which is light. And so it also represents the square, the carpenter's square of Freemasonic symbolism and Rosicrucian symbolism, going along with the drafter's T. So along with all of those, you have the at-bash substitutions. For the T, you have F, which represents Francis, L, and I already mentioned above. S can represent the idea of Shakespeare, but it's also, you have, I'm getting a little dizzy here, John. You got me going all over the place. So you have
Prime.
oh, wait, you get to do it too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Salute.
Okay, continue.
I didn't know that was part of the rules, but okay, I'm game. So S, again, with the substitution is G, and R, again, Rosicrucian, the initial, but it's also an H, which we know is a double tap. So that's how a lot of those works. Also, they gave veneration to the B, as I said. One of this explicit cipher texts that I found in the plaque when I used some of the keys that unraveled the secret messages was, we honor the apis. In other words, we honor the bees with this hand symbol, which a lot of my friends, Dan Spino out there, shout out to you. We were all wondering about this symbol you see. This is a picture of the alchemist Robert Fludd. And very, familiar looking artwork to me. But here you have, look at his hand in this position. This idea of this, they would do this in a lot of the paintings. Yeah. It represents the M, the letter M. but it's also supposed to be the shape of a B. So in the ciphers, it talked about the hand position, and that was the answer to it. Interestingly enough, M is 12 in simple cipher, and B is 12 in simple cipher. B is as 2 plus E as 5 plus E as 5 equals 12.
Wow.
Just like the letter M.
Jake, we got a question from YouTube.
Great.
So did the Templars use these types of ciphers as well? And could the knowledge of these ciphers have been passed to Freemasonry?
I would say absolutely yes. Whether or not the Templars used these specific ciphers, I'm not sure. I don't think so. They did use ciphers. They used the same symbols. They definitely used a lot of the same symbolism for sure. And I think that that is a part of the thread of knowledge that was passed along from the Templars, the families of the Templars who survived, who then passed that along to people like Francis Bacon, who created, I believe, the Rosicrucians.
Thank you, Jake.
It's a great question for sure. And so another reason why they venerate the bee is because of alchemy. Okay, I just showed you a picture of Robert Flood, and what they did was they used this as a symbol that by collecting pollen from honey, or pollen from flowers and roses, in this case, the Rosicrucians, you could create gold and honey. So that was a form of alchemy, and it represented that whole idea. And so, again, when it comes to light and being able to see, these are ideas that they obviously also venerated. Now, all of these come together as a bunch of signposts, honestly. And so all of these letters, you have the T, the double tau, which shows up as a TH. You have H as a double tau, the letter G, of course, representing Bacon, the A, the double A, all of these letters. There are also signposts of the first person pronouns of I and me. And coming back again to this image I said we would be seeing a lot of tonight, you see the conjoined letters M and E spelling out the word me. If on this plaque, what you're going to find is I started matching them up in terms of, once I figured out the actual number of characters that appear on the plaque, I was able to match up, look for these cipher signatures and see what letter they were and what character they were. And they would match up to any of these significant characters that are symbolic and representative of Bacon, as well as the letters of I and me. So it also works because of the substitutions via the at-batch substitution. So what I did was I counted the characters and I started matching signatures to their position on the plaque to see if they came up as highly significant signatures or letters.
Okay.
And so the idea is, it occurred to me, I didn't, as Chris and I were talking about the plaque, I said, I wonder if I was trying to figure out how to set up an algorithm, because the type of cipher that appears on the plaque requires you to find a key in order to unlock the secrets. And in order to do that, I had to have an accurate count of how many characters are on the plaque. So it was a really simple idea. I just counted them. And so because each conjoined or ligatured character, since they were combined and joined, they have to count as one character. It's just logical. It makes sense, especially if you have to rearrange the characters according to a key or a specific method, which is what I did. So what I did was I counted there were a total of 305 characters on the plaque, and that is done. Chris, Donna, and I have been able to, and by the end of this night, I hope that most people will recognize that it's unequivocal. That is a carved in bronze number of 305. It checks out in a variety of other ways too in the other ciphertexts. So what I did was I assigned each character a number, and I did it forward in a regular count, just starting at the beginning, going to the end, and then I did it again backward and checked those as well. And so then I compared all of those numbers to cipher signatures, and there were multiple correlations. And I'll talk about what the odds are of that here in a little bit. So, oh, my sister's watching on her big TV. She just texted me.
Hello, Jake Roberts' sister.
Well, there are 4 of them watching. So
give them a shout out. Let's go, Jake. Give them a shout out.
Robin, Patty, Penny, Dawn. You better have me on. So what I did was, as I said, I just began with the I in judicio, with 1, and that goes all the way down to the letter P down at the end at 305. And so that's what it looks like if we can make it a little bigger. I don't know. And you can see this image. I was working with just I printed it out and I wrote it by hand, and I was using, just making sure, double checking I was getting every single one in there. And then Chris Dona put together this awesome graphic for me to use. It also appears in my book where all of these are all labeled all the way through. And we're going to take a closer look at some of these specifically, just to show you an example of how this works. I looked at the first, how there's an interaction between the count of these letters and the signatures. And so I just looked at the initial characters of the first 3 lines, and it's ITS from judicio. The I from judicio is number 1. It's the forward count. T from terra, right below it, is 38, and S from stay is 72. And when you look at them all, the total from that count, if you add it together, is 111, which is bacon in K cipher. Hi, Don. And so, we have this, that's bacon in K cipher. So what do we have as a message here? Well, it's pretty simple. Whose name is encrypted in the plaque? It's bacon. Mm-hmm. That's the answer. This is going to come up again and again and again, as you're going to see. This was one that I just kind of noticed a couple of nights ago. I was talking with some friends on one of our Facebook groups, and I just eyeballed it. I said, oh, it says it's bacon, so that's kind of cool. The backward count, obviously, it's just, I figured since bacon had simple cipher and reverse cipher, it was only logical to do the same thing with the counts of the plaque. And so that's what I did. I started with P at the end of the plaque as 1 down here at the bottom, and then I end at 305 with the letter I up above. And there were a lot of correlations in the forward count. You can see here, maybe. Oh, thanks, John. Not yet. It's going to be, my book on the plaque is going to be coming out here next month, either the 20th or the 22nd. I haven't decided which. If John lets me, I'll do a shameless plug for it at the end.
No problem, Jake.
If you look at the forward count correlations, they all hit. There were hits all across the board except for 3. And here it was character 85 with a W, character 168 with a W, and character 199 with a D. And I'm going to talk about that. An interesting one that we're going to have to jump into a little bit here, a little bit later, depending upon how long and how deep everyone wants to go into this, is the number 153, which is not a prime number. But if you look at right here at the center of the plaque, it is the conjoined word me, me. Since there are 305 characters on the plaque, 153 is the mathematical center of the plaque, and it says the word me. And like I said, 153 is what's called a triangular number, and it's pretty complicated, but because it's a triangular number and the other numbers at the other corners indicates that it's a signature for bacon. In fact, if you add up I, Sir Francis Bacon, in simple cipher, it equals 153. So there were only 3 non-hits, like I said, a W at character 85, W again at 165, and a D at 199. And so what they are, W is the substitution for D. D is the substitution for W. So it's strange. It's like it's the same letter, and we're going to see this trend continue, which is really kind of interesting. And I think I figured out why. So once again, in the backward count, 153 is still me because it's the mathematical center. There was one miss as far as them not matching up to significant characters from our symbolic letter list. And that is, once again, character 199, and it's a letter D. So, so there was also 231, which is a Y, and 237, which is a B. And I was kind of questioning them with it, but then I realized Bs, and they are substitutions for one another, Y and B. So we have a hit. They're Bs. So once again, same as the forward count, all the Ds and the Ws, and in this backward count, the only miss was another D. So I found this to be kind of interesting, and there's a close-up of it you can see there, where over here is character 199 in the backward count as a letter D there. It's the miss. The rest of them are all hits. So in summary of just that section, you have multiple correlations, and so how does that happen? I think it was it was purposeful, because everything that I found on this plaque was very purposeful. And so I was wondering if it was actually statistically significant, though. I would say that it's very inconclusive, because we have a large number of characters, plus you have the versus the possible hits, and it goes backwards and forwards. So you actually have a 610 possibilities of hits. And then that doubles again because of the substitution possibilities. So I don't think that it's necessarily statistically significant, but I think it's pretty interesting correlations. So the misses in the forward were the D and the W, which equal 4 and 21, and then the B and the A, which of course are Bs. Misses backward were just a D. So this adds up to a total of 25, a number that I think Aaron Helton is going to kind of appreciate, and that'll happen again, Aaron. And since we have 25, 2 is B, 5 is E, we have a phonetic spelling of the word B. So this led me to wonder, how do prime numbers fit?
Jake.
Yeah.
So obviously this plaque means a lot and is deciphered in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
What is it telling us? I mean, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. What is this plaque that Bacon did? What is it saying to us? Is it giving us a direction? Is it giving us a explanation of something? Thank you, Jake.
Yeah. It really is, John. And I see all the people who are saying hi.
Yeah, they're going crazy.
Hi, guys. Yeah, it's great to see you all there. The idea that what's being said here, this plaque contains, and Chris Dona said it best, because we were really talking about it. I was going through all of the different messages and sharing my research with him, and he says he told his life story in this plaque.
Wow.
This plaque is it's the subtitle of my book, the autobiography, the secret autobiography of Sir Francis Bacon, and that's what it is.
Okay.
There were certain elements of it, John, that he had to keep secret at the time. There's no way that some of this information could have been released in his lifetime. And as Sir William Raleigh said that. At some point in a future generation, people are really going to understand the depth and breadth of what he really did and what he really accomplished and who he truly was. And a lot of that information, most of it, is in this plaque.
Okay.
It's all there. So I just asked the question, how prime numbers fit. You can choose to do that one again or not. It's up to you. But what I did was I checked all the primes in the regular count, starting from the beginning and going to the end. And there was a really interesting correlations happened here. First of all, a lot of these signatures of Sir Francis Bacon and the associated titles are prime numbers. So if you look at it, you go across here, and this is just what it looks like as they're where the prime numbers are kind of scattered around there.
Jake, we got a question from Tom Burns.
Great, Tom.
How do you avoid confirmation bias when deciding which characters and counts are to be used?
Tom, great question. It's funny. In my classroom, I teach confirmation bias to my students. I teach them how to be aware of it and try to avoid it. And so, believe me, I was really, I had to be hyper vigilant about that. And the way to do it is context. If there isn't a context for it, then it doesn't make sense. The only time I used a letter to be representative or to be significant was when it actually stated in the ciphertext which ones were supposed to be, along with the ones that all of these scholars associated with Bacon have already all agreed that, okay, these letters are significant,
yep,
which are A, G, and all the others I've listed. So yeah, it's such a great question. And I kind of said that earlier about when it comes to these cipher signatures and the letters. Unless you have context, it doesn't mean anything,
right.
So
right. We got Tony Sampson in the house.
Hey, Tony. Any other questions, gang?
We're going by so fast, Jake. I only see like 4 or 3 of them at a time, and by the time I look back, they're gone.
Oh, let's see on Facebook. Let's see. What got me interested in Oak Island? Well, I've always been a fan of the show. And one of the things was I just love, obviously, my interest has always been symbolism and Bacon, Rosicrucian symbolism, Freemasonry symbolism, Knights Templar symbolism. And so that's always been my area of real interest. And of course, there are oodles of that on the show. So it's just fun to watch for me. And then when I said earlier, my friend Chris Dona was on the show and made a statement that caught my attention. I reached out to him, and we've been really jumping into it ever since.
We got another question. It said some letters are larger than others. Do they signify any importance in the cipher?
They do. Chris Dona believes that they're intended to be actual capital letters.
Mm-hmm.
That in some way, one of them that really stuck out to him was the capital H, and the S on the top, I believe was Socratum. And so, at this point, I think that they were put in, this is my own personal opinion,
right?
Because there is a biliteral cipher. In order to have a biliteral cipher, you have to take the letters and group them in smaller groups of 5. And since there are 305 characters on the plaque, it works perfectly for biliteral cipher. And so I thought that the size of the characters was actually a distraction. It was a ruse away from how to solve the biliteral cipher. Because come to find out, the actual size of the characters and the amount of flourishes on them and all those kinds of things, that was all there to hide the clues of how to solve the biliteral cipher. Whoa. So that's my opinion.
Fantastic.
It's a great question. Great question.
I'm ready. Go ahead.
All right. So when I looked at the forward primes, there were misses of where they weren't significant characters, and all 3 were Ds. So like I said earlier, I don't find it statistically significant of all of the hits, but the fact that all of the misses are Ds, I do find statistically significant and purposeful. In fact, there's a reason why. If we add them together in simple cipher, it equals 12, the same cipher signature of the word B. When we add them up in reverse, D is 21 in reverse. So we have a total of 63. It could mean F or CF or C Francis. In K, D is 30. Added up, you have 90. it reduces to the letter I as 9. When we add up B in reverse cipher, it also equals 63. It's the same as 3 Ds. And then when we look at K cipher, B is 28 plus E is 20, E is 20. The total is 90. Oh, wait, that shouldn't be. I think I have a typo there, but it's 90. So there were previous misses were all Ds, and again we had the B and the Y, which were also the Bs. So these are far too many coincidences to make sense to not make sense here. So what I did was I looked at the backward prime count, and again they were all hits except a D and a W. Also, there was D as a character of 199 and D as 107. They were 2 characters that were misses in the forward count. So they were the same in the backward count, the same exact characters. So along with D as character number 7 and W as 71. And here you can see them. With a close-up, there's 199 there, and 107 D there, and so on. There's 7D down here. 71 is W and RIT right there. So when we look at the backward prime misses, when we add them up in simple cipher, D is 4, and then W is 21. So we have 3 Ds and 21. That totals 33, which is Bacon in simple cipher. In reverse, we add them up. D is 21 in reverse, and W becomes 4 in reverse. And the total is 67, which is Francis in simple cipher again. We add them up in K, the hits just keep on coming. And D is 30 in K cipher, and W is still 21 in K cipher. Add them up, and we have 111, which is the cipher signature of Bacon in K cipher. So in my mind, it's not so much all of the hits that match up with the characters, it's the ones that don't. This goes along with the idea in steganography that in order to figure out the clues, you have to look for mistakes. And so these weren't mistakes. These were purposeful in that we were supposed to find that they didn't match and then check out their totals and realize whose name is encoded or encrypted in this monument Shakespeare. And once again, we have Francis Bacon.
Yep, Jake, we got another question from Tom Burns. He's on the ball, this guy.
All right.
How long would it take someone with experience to put together a cipher like this? Oh, my God.
With experience? Gosh, Tom, I don't know. It's funny. I'll just say that, somebody else asked me a similar question and it was on in the war room, and I can't really talk about how I answered it there, but I'll answer it this way here because it's such a great question. One of the things that when I first started telling people what I had discovered, I had one friend who said, "No one could ever do that," and started laughing, and I laughed. I said, "Well," I said, "I think you may have misphrased that. You or I could never have done this." but Sir Francis Bacon, he could have, and he did. I believe that what he did was, he used the numerical bijective function and set up what's called a double columnal cipher system. And what he would have to do, and I'm thinking it took him probably, there's a lot of trial and error that goes into this too. And so the plaque itself has the date of 1616 on it, but that's irrelevant because it didn't really appear in situ until I think they say they believe maybe, they don't even know, about 1623. Mm-hmm. And so it would make sense that it would take someone named Bacon 7 years to do it because 7 is G. But today, gosh, I really don't know, especially if you're really experienced. let's put it this way. At this point, and I haven't even finished deciphering all of the ciphers that I found, all of the ciphertexts
Okay.
on the plaque. But at this point, I have 6 of them in the book. So there are at least 6 encoded within the plaque itself. So it's such a great question. I would really have to give that a lot of thought, Tom. Keep them coming, because you really got me thinking now. It's great.
And Susan says, if Bacon was the only person who can figure out the cipher, what is the point if he can only figure it out? I mean, you guys are, like yourself, are trying to decipher it, but if he made it so hard and he couldn't even do it, I mean, you know, how does that?
Well, it's great question. Well, he didn't do it just so that only he could do it. What people today don't realize or understand is that there were a whole group of people who were communicating in this way back then. You have to remember that they didn't have the distractions that we have today. For them, this was entertainment.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Learning new languages. That's what they did for fun.
Oh my God.
Because learning is fun when you actually do it. And so that's what they did. You know, they weren't distracted by really great TV shows like Oak Island.
Mhm.
They weren't distracted by Facebook. They weren't distracted by sporting events or any of those kinds of things. This is what they did. And so there were a lot of people in his time period who could read this plaque. Absolutely. And Chris Dona asked me a question. He says, why us? Why are we the ones that figured this out?
Right.
Why hasn't anyone else? And what I said was, well, I don't think we are the first ones. I think plenty of people have actually deciphered it. They've never published it. I think that a lot of the people who have been able to do this, in reference to Tom's earlier question, who have experience, or maybe they belong to groups who have been studying this for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
In particular, if someone was a member of a fraternity or secret society, where they are obligated to keep certain secrets, and if they were to use those techniques that they had learned to decipher this, then they're obligated to keep that as a secret.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I am not a member of any of this. I'm self-taught, and so I have none of those obligations. In fact, if anything, I feel like I have an obligation to share this information because Sir William Raleigh basically states in Manus Farulmiani, it's a collection of 32 verses honoring Bacon's life and his death as eulogies. He states in the foreword that, you know, someday in the future, someone needs to be able to put this together and share with the world what Bacon was really capable of and what he really did. So, I mean, it's a great question, but, you know, again, we're looking at it as moderns. And he didn't make it just so only he could read it. There were multiple people who could read this back then.
Okay.
And they were also obligated to keep it a secret because the information it contains would have changed the face of Europe. And when I say that, I'm not saying that lightly. I mean, it's a powder keg for sure.
Okay, thank you, Jake.
No, thank you. Thank them. It's a great question, gang. You guys are really, really doing great stuff here. I said we would get to number 153. And so, as I said earlier, 153 is a cipher signature that represents the phrase "I, Sir Francis Bacon" in simple cipher. And that is the center character of the word "me" at the mathematical center of the plaque. So who is at the center, whose name is entombed in this monument Shakespeare? Who is at the center of this mystery named Shakespeare? It's me, Sir Francis Bacon. And like I said, it's the mathematical center, forward and backward. And, oh yeah, I forgot to mention it's not a prime. Oh, I already mentioned that. So there are other ways that it can be a signature as well. And this is where I'm going to give a shout out to Chris Dona and the other giants that I was kind of standing on the shoulders of when I tackled this project. What Chris did in our circle, there's something that came up, was it last season? The first time that Chris Morford was on, it's called the Morford Triangle, and it's on the plaque. Everyone who is familiar with Peter Emonsson's Bacon pentagram, his work,
Yep.
there's a Bacon pentagram on this plaque. And so Chris took that. He took my work and my count and my discovery about the number 153, and he applied it, or he didn't apply the number 153, but what he did was he took my counting system and to see what it would come out of what other people have already discovered. And so there is a relationship with the number 153, which is really kind of cool. So here we see the Morford triangle, his Morford-Bacon triangle. Each of these characters are an anagram for Bacon. And here you see what Chris did. This is an image he sent me to use for tonight's presentation. Thanks, Chris. It's really awesome. So he had the calculator embedded right here in the image. It's kind of cool. So he added up each of these letters. You have N is number 35, O is number 99, C is 201, and then B is 207, and then you have A is 138. And he totaled them up as a total of 680 here in the forward count. And then he checked their values in the backward count. And what he found was that N was 271, O was 207, A is 168, C is 103, and B is 101. He added all of those up, 99, added up, and that's 850. We add those together, and we have 1530. And again, in geometry and numerology, you drop the 0 if you don't need it, and we have the number 153 again. So the letters spelling out Bacon, once again, add up to 153. So we looked at, he looked at Peter's Bacon pentagram, and in the forward count, we had a total of 934. And looking at the backward count, we had 596. So once again, you add those up, and what do we have? We have 1530. 1530. So it's 1,530. Drop the 0, and it's 153. So again, so when he found that, we were all kind of pretty excited because I thought that was a really cool correlation between all this information. So this is the surface stuff of the plaque. And by surface stuff, I mean, we've only looked at the stuff we can look at when you look at the plaque as it appears. We didn't get into any of the algorithms I use to rearrange the characters on the plaque. All that's in the book. And it's also a part of the technique that led me to important information for other people. So want to give a shout out to some people here. Chris Dona, of course, I mentioned him multiple times. Aaron Helton, Chris Morford, Corey and Mall, you guys are awesome. It's been a lot of fun working with you, and I'm looking forward to doing a lot more research with you. Anyone interested in more information about this, I definitely check out Peter Dawkins' website, francisbaconresearchtrust.org. If you just Google it, it'll be the first thing that comes up. He has multiple books out. I just got his latest one. I haven't opened it yet, unfortunately. Sorry, Peter, if you're watching. Peter Amonsson's books and his documentary, if you want to really start to look at how steganography works and how to start looking at Bacon ciphers, that's a great place to start. Peter's research is great. This is the shameless plug I talked about earlier. My book, The Holy Trinity Decryption, The Hidden Autobiography of Sir Francis Bacon. Again, I want to thank Chris Dona and Corey and Mall. They helped me out with the title. They made some suggestions, and I kind of mashed them together and put my own twist on it. That's what I ended up with. So thanks, guys. I appreciate you very much.
Right. And how are they going to contact you, Jake? You got like an email or something if somebody wants to purchase this book once it comes about? How do they contact you?
Yeah. The best way to do it, I will have a website for that next month. But the best way to do it is to search on Amazon. It's going to be there by the end of January for sure. I'm planning on the 20th or 22nd. So
very good.
So that's my presentation. So open to questions. Oh, I almost forgot. I just got something from Amazon Prime.
Uh-oh. Well,
I couldn't resist. I'm sorry. That was awful cheesy, but I couldn't help it.
That was great.
I had to.
That's a lot of, every time you guys come on, I have to absorb more and more. I don't think my brain has any more brain cells left to absorb all you guys and what you do. It's just unbelievable.
So, hey, listen, guys, I see all your comments. I really appreciate your kind words. And like I said, yeah, definitely a crash course. The thing is that, like I said, it's only the surface stuff of the plaque. And if I were to call it the tip of the iceberg, it's only the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole lot more there. And I ran through that, John, in record time. But when Chris and I did our presentation for the War Room, we both, like I said earlier, we gave 3 hours worth of information in 1 hour.
Right.
So if everyone here who watched this is reeling, just imagine what the guys on Oak Island had to put up with that night from us, because we went in there with a whirlwind.
I found it interesting how much Bacon and his intelligence is over the moon. I mean, I didn't realize that. I mean, what kind of not Einstein, but what kind of person he was to come up with these things. It's just unbelievable. And
it really is. He was definitely. People always call him a polymath, but that doesn't even do him justice. A master of multiple languages. Writing Shakespeare, and basically at that point, everyone pretty much agrees that Shakespeare was responsible for the creation of what we speak now as modern English, and so Bacon did that.
Okay, now here's the question.
Yeah.
The other theories are that Bacon buried the manuscripts at Oak Island. It's another theory and an opinion.
Yeah.
Now, were the manuscripts that supposedly are buried on Oak Island, in whatever year they did that, obviously they had to be important. I mean, you got to have something important to bury it, no? You know what I mean? You don't bury just anything. You bury something of importance and great value.
Absolutely. Yeah, very true. So that's very true.
If he did this in 1625, I mean, was his works that important 100 years before that, or 50 years? I don't know. I'm getting my dates all mixed up. But was it that important at that time frame that it was important enough to bury manuscripts? I'm saying.
Yes.
You know what I'm trying to say? It's like
I know exactly what you're trying to say, John, and you're spot on. They were that important. I think that the role that Bacon played. And here's something really important. A little inside baseball, and I think that it's okay for me to share that it's no secret. It's something that has been a common theme on the show, The Curse of Oak Island, since the beginning, which is there seems to be a tradition that goes back probably even pre-Templar of using this spot, this location, to secure whatever needed to be secured. I think it started right at the very beginning with the Templars coming to America early on, and I think it has continued through all of these traditions. Someone had asked me earlier whether the Templars used these ciphers. They used ciphers, like I said, not necessarily these ciphers, but there is a tradition there. And so what you have is a place that has had multiple visitors for multiple purposes, and I believe multiple deposits and multiple withdrawals. And
he knew how to. He also knew how to preserve documents.
Absolutely. He was known to experiment, and this has been on the show. Yep. He's known to experiment, preserving documents in mercury and encasing them in lead. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think of the show so far? It's up to, what is it now? 6 episodes.
Yeah.
What is your opinion of what do you think is there, and what's your opinion?
Well, just what we've seen so far.
Yep.
The work of like I've been saying right along, the work of Corey Mullen and Chris Morford. I was lucky enough and honored enough to have Chris Morford send me his initial proposal and theory that he had sent before he sent it into the Oak Island team, and had me read it and send him notes. And it is it was phenomenal, and I had tried writing my own proposal at that point, and I read his. I thought, oh wow, I'm about as amateur as you can get. I need to up my game here. That's how good it was, And so the quality of their work, particularly when all of a sudden he and Corian have teamed up, and the kinds of things that the connections that they're making, with the menorah at Versailles.
Yep.
This is blockbuster stuff, I think.
Right.
And
I can't wait. I can't wait till they come on when they have the A-OK to let loose. It's driving me crazy, but we all got to wait and be patient. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, hopefully my and Chris's information will be on, and the presentation we did with Aaron, and then we can come on again and share a lot of our other things. But there's so much more. There's so much more to be told, and the real. And this is cheesy, and it's been said again and again on the show itself, but the real treasure there is that camaraderie those guys share. When you see them on TV, and they're just being gracious to people, and
right.
being that's who they are. They are candid, very very authentic people.
Yep, Christopher's in the house. He's in the house.
Oh, Chris.
Yep.
How we doing, sir?
He says you're being too kind and too humble. He said.
Yeah, I just saw his message.
Okay, all right.
That's not true at all, sir. You're a giant among men. Someone just asked. Joe asked. So could these ciphers be turned into longitude and latitude? Just thinking out loud. I would say those are good out loud thoughts, John.
There you go. There you go.
So, what's really kind of cool is, like I said, a lot of the things that they've been finding this season. Last week's episode with what Erin did with the cross. The first time she showed that to us,
right.
I was blown away. I'm like, "Are you kidding me?
Right.
That is so cool." And so it's funny, we've actually talked about that, and there are a few other things you might be able to do with that cross. We'll have to wait and see.
Yep, it's unbelievable, Holland. Then I found some pictures from 1930 that I posted on the site, and
they were great pics.
And boy, was that island demolished. You know what I mean? Some people say it's snow,
yeah.
Some people say it's not. But now to go off of boulders now, after you see these pictures of the destruction of that side of the island, it blows me away. I don't know if these boulders were buried before, but what I see as far as those aerial photographs, I see nothing there as far as pinpointing gold. I don't even see the cave-in pit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's true, John. I read your comments too when you posted those pictures.
I started scratching my head. I put it all out there because,
well, we have to ask those questions, because we have to go with, the factual stuff that we do know. Yep. And that's one of the things that people in Tom's question, Tom Burns' question comes to mind from earlier tonight about confirmation bias. And a part of my deciphering of the plaque, I had to decipher anagrams. And that raises a whole, that opens a can of worms if you're not using a standard operating procedure to make sure that you're not just being subjective when you find your anagrams. So I was able to develop that. And the idea is that when you look at the island and you have those kinds of factual, logical questions, we have to ask them. And so I actually, there you go. Yeah. It reminds me of another picture that Aaron used with our research when we're all talking. And you could see where everything was just decimated. And so we know for a fact that there were multiple rocks that had inscriptions or carvings and symbols that were on the island that Fred Nolan documented
Right.
And you know, as you know, being a surveyor as well, you know, he documented their position, made sure he knew exactly where they were, made notes about what was on them, and so on, and then he removed them for safekeeping.
Right.
You know, uh, and then you have, you know, the Dunfield crew coming through with their smash and grab operation,
Right.
that just total devastated the landscape. So, you know, the idea of doing that as opposed to following the clues and seeing where they lead you. You know, that's one of the things that has always kind of, you know, bothered me a little bit,
I hear you. And a
for
lot of
sure.
times they're talking about like Zia's map about anchor stones.
Yeah,
My determination of anchor stones as a surveyor, I would say they were benchmarks. I mean, they're not going to hold a ship at bay, these anchor stones.
right.
It is a directional marker or a benchmark to work off of.
I would agree with that. I think that, yeah, in particular, when if you are anchoring a point
Right.
that you're going to use to measure and map an island, absolutely.
Right.
I think the word can be used in that way. And Aaron actually talked about that, I think,
Right. In
last week. Yeah.
Gordon Fader and Joy of Steel, they also say those stones that are drilled out, the British military used, and in them holes would be a metal plate. Now, as a surveyor, I used to use what's called PK nails, the real thick,
Right.
sharp PK nails that I would work off for my transit from. You know, you put it in a tree
Right.
if you were using a pipe. But they say in the older days, and the British used to drill a hole in the rock, but inside that hole was a metal piece showing degrees, angles, or whatever you have to go off of, which makes sense. The
Right.
metal would have rotted out, but there's no metal in the holes. But we're talking hundreds of years ago.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. It totally makes sense. It's very logical. Very logical.
And then also, of course, my surveyor brain went crazy when Aaron was going in the war room and Marty was doing the protractor and the cross, right? I'm going, how the
Yeah.
heck do these points match this map? And of course, I got to, PM her because it's driving me crazy. All these things I need answers to is driving me nuts. I says, well, the scale, now listen to me, Jake, see if this makes sense.
Go for it.
The scale of the map has to be the same scale of the cross angles. If Marty's map was a half an inch or an eighth inch bigger, the marks of the anchor stone would never cross and hit the cross where the angles of the stones were.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So the map
Correct.
that you're going off
Yeah.
has got to be spot on.
Oh yeah.
I'm saying,
Absolutely.
the scale.
And what
But you said, the show only does so much and they only throw things in there. And that's what I said. Once this is all done, you can explain,
Yeah.
How those points were hit. I mean, I can make a map to make anything hit anywhere. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure, sure. And y- y- Aaron's going to agree with you 100%. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but yeah,
Yeah, she already did.
it's very easy.
She already didn't.
Yeah, yeah. But it's true. But that part, those things kind of get edited out, and here she is, someone who works with maps for a living.
Right.
So she'll definitely be able to answer your question,
Yeah,
for sure.
I love the
Totally
maps.
makes sense.
I love the maps. I wish, well, maybe in 2021 we'll get Steve, the surveyor, on here. We'll go survey to survey and bounce heads on that because Fred Nolan
That'd be great.
plotted every single thing, and it showed maps in some episodes of the 100 of plots that he did. The maps were huge.
Yep.
They put them on the floor. I mean, I know Steve has to be going through every one of those plots.
Yeah, absolutely. And funny you should say that. I suspect that because of the proportions of that cross, and it was something that someone was probably wearing around their neck and would be able to use on a map. I would say that they had a standardized way, a standardized scale of the mapping systems they were using. Also, I would like to point out that the scales of measurement of geography of the rod, the chain, and the furlong are all based on the number 33. And they were all approved by Queen Elizabeth during her reign. So that was the time of Bacon. Just kind of throwing that out there. I wonder who came up with that system.
Unbelievable. I don't know how they do this. I don't know how they figure this all out. It's just mind-boggling. Just very mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Well,
I just saw a question about
where are we here?
If I've looked at the 90-foot stone and tried to decipher it. You know, I've looked at images of it, and I have some pretty solid ideas of what it is. The current interpretation of it, I think, is misinformation. I think it's a misdirection. It's my personal opinion. But the problem is I'm only looking at images of it that are images that of other images of other images.
Yeah.
There's no provenance for what that image really is. So I dismissed really trying to even decipher it simply because I don't know if what I'm looking at is really authentic. What I will say is that the symbols on it don't look like any kind of pigpen cipher I've ever seen, really. I would say that it's more, I would say that if you're going to be looking at the 90-foot stone, if I were you, I would think in terms of mathematical symbols. And in particular, the one that looks like an arrow, that's a symbol of bisecting an angle. I can say that much.
I like that one interpretation. I mean, I've heard 1,000 interpretations, but this is the one about you got to stop the flood tunnels with corn. Corn will stop the flood tunnels. And that sort of
that's been a theory.
Struck me funny, but yet, well, that has to be doing something. It has to stop the trap. Well, that's what I got to know. You got to stop the things to get the thing and receive it if you have it. And that was an important little clue, but then I didn't hear anything after that. So,
yeah. And one of the other theories was millet. Lots of other grains have been thrown out there. So, yeah. Tom just asked another question. Could the island have been revisited covertly over time and markers replaced or moved? Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Here comes the question. So you seeing them, Jake, or you want me to repeat them?
Yeah. I'm seeing some of them here.
Mike says,
it's easier if
Mike says, I wonder if the ciphers are tied in with toroid map, where numbers 1 and 9 are not quantities, but mama me, you guys are mathematicians. I can't even say what the heck they're spelling here.
Yeah, Mike, that's a great thought.
Wow. Thank you,
Mike. Yeah, you have me thinking because Bacon had a more complex cipher system other than what I just showed tonight. There's one where he has the simple cipher, and he has 4 alphabets back to back, all the way up to, what would it be, 96. And one of them, one section of it does deal with, qualities. In particular, the 7 known planets at the time. So I would say that that's a possibility. Sure, something I hadn't thought of. Great question.
You think this Monday, December 21st, when the planets line up for the first time in 800 years, you know where I would want to be right at that moment?
Where?
If I had to go to Oak Island, that day would be the day I would go and sit in my Jeep and see if a beam of light comes down from a star. And that's the spot, finally. It took 800 years, but that's the beam. What do you think of that, Jake? How's that for a theory?
I love it. I love it. It would be a beam of light streaming directly out of the eye of the swamp.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Anyway, it would match up with Boots and Cygnus and all the major players. Yeah.
Yep. It would match up with everything. With Chris's star connection, with everybody. Just one beam coming out of the spot where the stuff is, and that's enough. We had enough. You guys, we tortured you enough. That's where it is. I think I don't know why I think of those things, but that's the first time in 800 years something's lining up.
If you believe some of the theorists, you would hope that it wouldn't turn out like the end of the first Indiana Jones movie.
Right. Right. Well, Jake, I want to thank you so much for coming on.
John, and it was an honor. This was a blast.
Like I'm saying,
I love watching your show. I think you're awesome, and this is great stuff. This is why people watch it.
well, I thank you so much. Like I said to you and the rest of the guys, and Tony Sampson said, "Come sit on my boat with a beer, and we'll find it. It'll be broadhead arrow shaped." Okay, Tony, I'll get a red eye. I'll leave tomorrow.
Sounds like a plan, Tony.
Right? You guys with me? Jake,
Chris, I'm with you. Yeah, we'll go.
Oh my God! But like I said, I want to thank you a lot. And like I said, I want this group to be interactive, which they are. Sometimes they're way over interactive, but I love it. And I want these members in this group and you guys to have an outlet to explain your theories in detail. And if you can't, when you can, they always come back and say what the whole detail is. That's all I did. I'm just sort of passing a message. I'm just the middleman here. And
John, it's been great. I really appreciate it. And like I said, just being able to talk about, even though I can't talk about all the stuff I'd really like to talk about, just talking about something that I'm passionate about and really enjoy doing. Obviously, I'm that big of a nerd.
Right. You want to put your book up?
This was a lot of fun.
You want to put your book up before we leave there?
Sure.
Let me see here. We'll put the book up.
I think am I still logged in over there?
Yeah,
I'm still there.
Hold on.
Okay. Oop. Wait for it. There you go.
There it is, guys. When it comes out, Jake will drop us a line.
I'll let you know.
We'll let you know what's going on.
Sure.
There it is right there. And like I said, I appreciate you coming on, and we'll have to do this more.
Appreciate you having me, John.
21. And
we'll do.
Remember, everybody, always go forward. Always believe in your dreams, no matter how old you are. Just keep it going forward, never backwards. No matter how life treats you, go forward. Be safe. I thank you very much. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Thanks for your kind words.
We'll see you Tuesday before the show on my Hyper show before Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. Thank you, everybody. Good night now.
Great job, John.